Hey there, my name is Luke Snell. I am the owner and pharmacist here at Luke's Pharmacy and Wellness in Haley, Idaho. And I am going to give you a quick introduction into our reverse insulin resistance in 90 days program. And so here's what we want to accomplish today. We want to dig into what the actual problem is, what is the core of that, and then go into what we call our foundational four of how to address that problem and what makes us unique. We'll call it special tool number one and special tool number two now for now, and then we'll get into pricing just a little bit so you have an idea there, and then possible next steps for you. So let's jump right in. I want to start by telling you about my very first client that I took on as I put together this program. This is Martine, and he came to me just having been diagnosed with diabetes. He had an 8.9 A1C. That means his blood sugars had been high for a long time, averaging well over 200, high triglycerides, and weighed 268 pounds, was just sick, felt terrible, having a hard time getting around at work. And so stick with me to the end, and I'll show you the things that he was able to achieve by doing this program. And so let's get into that problem. Same thing like Martine. Most people, and I'm talking like 90% of US adults, are not metabolically well. And so we have low energy, we have weight gain, we have declining health, and it's insulin resistance. People don't know it, but it's insulin resistance would be the diagnosis at its core. And so we're in this vicious cycle of we're eating a lot of carbs, and therefore our pancreas is constantly producing a lot of insulin. And so our blood has a lot of insulin in it that our cells are being exposed to constantly. They become resistant to it. Body gets stuck in storage mode. We're tired. We're hungry. We eat more carbs, and the cycle goes on and on. Some of the signs and symptoms, because it's vast, because insulin works at every cell in our body, but it could be skin tags, it can be weight changes. That's the thing most people notice, but it can even be things like hair loss or acne, or of course, belly fat or high blood sugar. There's tons. If you think of a chronic illness, I promise you there's likely a link to insulin resistance. It really is at the core of all these problems that we have. The great thing is insulin resistance can be reversed, and you can do it fairly quickly. So that's why we call it this: reverse insulin resistance in 90 days. And so foundational four principles here. You got to control carbs, and we would teach you on these foundational four principles in detail, but it comes down to getting carbs lower. It comes down to eating more protein. I've yet to meet a client that's eating enough protein. It comes down to understanding fats, and that we don't have to be scared of fats so long as we're lowering carbs sufficiently, and as long as it's the right kind of fats. We teach you that. And then we teach you to have a fasting schedule, incorporating fasting in some ways, and that can look a lot of different ways. And so we help identify what's best for you in doing that. And that brings us to special tool number one. What really makes us unique, one of the things is this supplement, or this combination of supplements that we use. We call it the drinks because it's these little powder packets. You put it in a water bottle and you mix it up and you drink them. And so it's a combination of two different things. We would explain it in greater detail. I'll give you the summary here. The one is this balanced drink that you do before meals. This is a fiber-based drink. It helps really minimize the blood sugar spikes, keep your blood sugars a lot more level so you don't have the crashes and all that. The other one was really what brought me to this system in the first place, and that's the Unimate. And so let's talk about that a little more, because the first thing that brought me onto it is what it does for our natural GLP-1 levels. It boosts them by over 60% naturally. That Unimate does. And that's important and that's significant, because that's the whole reason I was looking for, is I wanted people to have a natural alternative as opposed to having to do these injectable drugs that are so common and seem to be used by so many people. And they have so many side effects that are being minimized, I think. And so whether it's the muscle loss or the mental health things that are coming about from that, or the bone loss, the GI side effects, they can be drastic. And so you can boost them naturally, and that's significant. So you can take the edge off. You can minimize those cravings a little bit. You can slow the gastric emptying a little bit, so you don't feel as hungry. It's great. Been a critical tool in the success of our clients. And so just to recap a little bit, we've gone through the foundational four. Everybody should be doing this, in my opinion. And then if you want a little help, you add special tool number one that we just talked about. And then special tool number two is bringing about that education and accountability. It's pretty profound. I can't understate it enough. But when you incorporate some accountability and some education to go along with these principles, suddenly your rate of success statistically goes up like sevenfold. And so that's why we created a program as a whole, to help people become accountable and to teach them. And so what is that? What do I mean by that? So it's a 3-month program. You have an initial 1 hour session with a pharmacist. This is a pharmacist led program, which also makes us quite unique. And then there's 12 weekly sessions after that. And those are about a half hour long. We do a customized supplement consultation. You get 10% off of supplements. You have unlimited access to a pharmacist and coach. I don't think you can understand the value of that, because when you're making changes, there's all sorts of little questions that come up, and we're here at your disposal. You have access, if you so choose, to do a self-paced online course as well. We have a client portal where we have things like recipes and food lists and menus and things like that. We're building on that all the time. So you have a lot of resources right at your fingertip. And then if you happen to live here in Haley, Idaho, you can also do a 3D body composition scan. Okay, so what are some of the results we've seen? Average weight loss of 22 pounds in that 90-day period. That's average for our hundreds of clients that we've done now. That's a 9% reduction in body weight. And just so you know, as that compares to those injectable GLP-1 drugs, their average weight loss in a 6-week period is 6%. So they're touted as miracle drugs, but they don't see the weight loss we do, because we have that accountability piece. We have that education piece. We're actually getting to the core of the problem. And so because we're doing that, we're able to see people get off of medications. We're able to see people no longer have type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes and that sort of thing. And then the sleep and the joints and the energy, the mood, the getting your life back. I love hearing that from people. So because that affects your everyday life and your happiness even. Okay, so here's some of the results we've seen so far. This is Erica. So she actually just did the program not because she was trying to lose weight, but to support her husband, in fact. And she ended up losing 16 pounds, but just felt so much better as she walked around at work and that sort of thing. And this is Katie. She also did wonderfully. She had pre-diabetes. She doesn't have pre-diabetes anymore. She lost 17 pounds while doing it. Felt great. This is Sam, has a bunch of kids at the house, so she had more energy to play with kids. She ended up losing 33 pounds in that 12-week period. And then my guy I showed you at the beginning, Martine, he doesn't have type 2 diabetes. His A1C went down to a 5.4, I think it was, in that 3-month period. He continued on. He didn't lose 60 pounds in the 12 weeks. I think he lost like 39 pounds in that first 12 weeks. He kept going, just applying those principles. And so has lost a total of 60 pounds, continues to feel wonderfully. He's done remarkably well. And so what do you do next? First of all, you do something, right? That's the whole idea here, is do something. And so you can do something on your own based off of some things you've learned today, or you can do it with our support. So what if you're on your own and you want to apply those foundational 4 principles, that's great. Add a tool, use special tool number 1. So those drinks, as I call them, those are like $159 a month. I'll give you my my cell phone at the end, and you can just text if that's something you want to do. But that tool becomes significant. And then I've added even a more detailed way, a way to get even more education to pair up with that special tool. So I call it my PPP course. It's a pre-program primer. I designed this course for my clients that are actually signed up for the program. I make them do some pre-work so they can have a foundational understanding of what this program is all about, so we can be very efficient when we talk about this stuff. I can give you access to that. Again, you just have to message me for that, and I can get you access to that course. I just want you to make these changes and apply them. And so whatever has to be done, do that. Add those tools. Okay. And so then it's you do it with support, so you can have special tools number 1 and 2. So you do those drinks, and then you also do the 90-day program. And I put some prices in here that are the variance is quite large. So $200 to $500 a month. I do this because it sort of changes. It depends. Sometimes we do promotions and we have different things going on. But if you're one-on-one, as of today, that price is $400 per month. But most of our people now are doing it in a group setting. We found that this is a much more effective way to do it, and we found that's a much more cost-effective way to do it. And so we had a promo recently that some people were doing it for $200 a month. It just depends. So if you're doing it in a group, just expect to pay somewhere in the $200 to $300 range approximately. Don't hold me to that. It changes all the time. Okay. And so any questions, just contact me. So here's my email, here's my work number, and here's my cell phone. Just say, hey, yeah, I'm ready to get started, or I want to do the drinks, or I want more information. I want that PPP course. Let me know, and we are here to help.